All right. Well, good morning, everybody. It is 7:59 in the AM here at the Fairbanks Economic Development Corporation, starting a little early today. Our very special guest is Dr. Erin Whitney with the U.S. Department of Energy. She's actually director of the Arctic Energy Office here in Alaska. And I had seen her presentation there in the legislature, giving an overview relative to the office, and thought it might be of interest to the gang. So without further ado, ma'am, here Tuesday, May 2nd, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate the invitation to speak to the group. My name is Erin Whitney. I am the relatively new director of the Arctic Energy Office. I took the position in January of this year, but before that was a faculty member at the Alaska Center for Energy and Power, based at UAF, there with you all, but working from Anchorage. So a little bit of a cross-state presence there.
So
go ahead.
So Gwen's shop.
Gwen's shop, now Jeremy Casper's shop.
Yes.
Awesome. So I'm not new to the space, but I am wearing a different hat on these days. And it's been a whole new adventure learning the federal landscape. So, and I'll just encourage folks to jump in and ask questions as you wish. We can keep this informal. And as I mentioned at the very beginning, I do have a hard stop at 8:30, so I'll give you a half hour of my time. I'm here today to give an overview of the Arctic Energy Office, just to spread the word about who we are and what we do, and to also solicit input on how we can be helpful to you. One of my biggest priorities for the office is getting the word out about our capabilities and resources, and really charting a clear course forward for the office to realize tangible outcomes. So, as I was saying, I am based here in Alaska. I am in Anchorage. I am an Anchorage kid. I actually grew up in Anchorage, graduated from Service High School, and then left for 2 decades to get an education, go to graduate school, worked at the National Renewable Energy Lab for a while, and then came back in 2014 to be a research faculty member at ACEP. So even though I'm originally from Alaska, I bring a lot of experience from outside the state, and I love working in my home state on issues that mean a lot to me and all of my neighbors and friends and family. So without further ado, I am going to, let me just see here, make sure I can, I'm going to do the slideshow. Let's see if this works. All right. Are you seeing the presentation, or are you seeing my prep screen?
Speaker view.
You can see your notes, Erin.
You're seeing my notes. Okay. Let me just stop the share for a second and share. All right. Is that a little better?
Yes.
Perfect.
Technology. Okay. So moving forward here. Hang on. All right. So we are, as we are named, focused on the Arctic, and in the United States, Alaska is what makes the U.S. an Arctic nation. The Arctic is full of complex political, natural, and social challenges and opportunities. I love showing this map. It's a little out of date, but the point here is that we don't have the electric grids that many of the rest of the places in the world have, or most of the rest of the United States for that matter. The little red dots here are microgrids, individually supported electrical systems for communities. We have lots of those in Alaska. There are lots of them all over the Arctic. Those sort of gray blobs are larger electric grids. And the other thing I think I like to show with this map is sort of how geopolitically diverse the Arctic is. A big part of the Arctic is Russia, and that's a complicating factor these days from a political standpoint. But there are other countries also involved in the Arctic. So it's an interesting space, it's a stimulating space, it's a challenging space. There is a national strategy for the Arctic region that has come out from the US government, and there's now an implementation plan that's being worked on. It's great to see this kind of attention being given to the Arctic in our country. And it's one reason that we've got an emphasis on the Arctic Energy Office, which is the only regional office of its kind in the Department of Energy ecosystem. So we're lucky to have it up here. And I will also say that this national strategy for the Arctic has informed the US Department of Energy Arctic strategy. And you can Google these things and find them if you want a cure for insomnia late at night. But just this, all of this is to paint the picture that we do have these sort of national and department-wide guidelines that are helping us chart our course. With regard to the national strategy for the Arctic region, you might be interested to know what the call outs are for Alaska in there. There's 3 pillars in that strategy, and the 3rd pillar is sustainable economic development. And our very own Arctic Energy Office Senior Advisor, Mike McElhaney, helped write and coordinate all the contributions for that pillar. He works out of DC. And some of the Alaska specific provisions that were called out were development of the deep draft harbor in Nome, as well as lots of other infrastructure in consultation with the state and all of our residents and stakeholders. And then some pretty broad objectives as well. So access to affordable energy by developing renewable energy generation, storage, transmission, and distributions. And then also supporting the renewable energy and sustainable energy transition. So that includes things like critical minerals production and tourism and workforce development and education and all of the sort of supporting areas that have to go alongside of technology development to make it sustainable and lasting. The actual US Department of Energy Arctic Energy Strategy focuses on 3 areas, which forms the basis for our responsibility as an office. And those areas are energy, science, and security. And I've sort of summarized them here. And that's a lot to cover. And I joke that I've started calling my new employer not just the Department of Energy, but the Department of Everything. Because as you can imagine, it's about all of these aspects in the Arctic. So it's a lot to handle, and I'm trying my best to get my mind around sort of concrete directions and actions that our office can take. Our office reports directly to the Undersecretary for Science and Innovation, who's directly under the Secretary of Energy. This gives us a lot of voice within the Department of Energy. And our goal is to bring the Department of Energy to the Arctic and bring the Arctic to the Department of Energy. We are that front door to the Department of Energy for Arctic stakeholders, so for Alaskans like you. And we also try to help make sure that what the Department of Energy is doing nationwide has applications and relevance and impact in a positive way in the Arctic. So we are that bridge between the national and the regional. And I'm going to expound on some of our specific activities and areas of emphasis in the next couple slides here. For those of you who go through the Anchorage Airport, stop and check out that Ted Stevens plaque. There's a statue of him sitting on a bench. That's always fun to see. But there's a plaque there that highlights some of his work to actually establish the Arctic Energy Office. So we go way back, but we sort of fell into the shadows a bit in the last 2 decades, and we were reauthorized just a few years ago under a memo from Energy Secretary Rick Perry, and then again following that in the FY21 omnibus bill that stood the office back up. So in the last 2 years, there's been an interim director. Some of you may know George Rowe. And then I was hired this past January as the first permanent director. So that is a little bit of the history of where in the world the Arctic Energy Office actually came from.
So, Doc Whitney, I will pause just one moment. We have begun to fully populate as far as participants. I just want to let everyone know I posted the link to that Arctic strategy for Department of Energy into the chat link. And also, again, as always, this is for you all. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, please just go ahead and take yourself off mute. I apologize. Dr. Whitney has a very brief time. She can only be here till 8:30 with a hard stop. But again, if you have any questions, this is for all of us. So thanks, Doc.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, I do appreciate questions. So please jump in and make yourself heard. And for those who have joined, I'm giving an overview of the Arctic Energy Office, which is within the Department of Energy with regard to our capabilities and resources, and most of all, soliciting input from all of you as to ways that we can be helpful. And feel free to put my email address into the chat there as well if you want. I'm unable to triple task here.
Okay, I got you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, so the Arctic Energy team is small but mighty. You may know some of these faces. The other Alaskan is actually Givy Kokonowski, based here in Anchorage with me. And then we've also got, second from left there, Mike McElhaney. He does a lot of our DC business, helps interface with the White House, the National Security Council, a lot of our international interests. We have Carolyn Hinckley, who helps us with communications, and then Matt Hebner, who is a science advisor, and it is actually at Los Alamos National Laboratory. So we're spread out, and we bring a lot of different expertise to the office, and we cover a lot of different areas. So as I mentioned earlier, our 3 areas of science, energy, and security requires a diverse background of folks in the office. And as I mentioned, I want to know, how our office can benefit you. So if you don't get a chance to let me know this morning, please send me a note. I'm looking for ideas. I'm looking for feedback. I'm looking for ways to make us more effective and useful for Alaska. A lot of people have asked me, Erin, what are you going to do with the Arctic Energy Office now that you're director? So you know what? Here's a slide with my priorities moving forward. One of my key areas of focus is to get demonstrations and deployments up here in Alaska. I'm a big believer that if we can show something as proof of concept and show folks and entities that technologies work, that we can learn from them, and that other folks will endeavor to replicate that or make even better versions. A great example of this is from my past life as the Solar Technologies Program Manager at the Alaska Center for Energy and Power at UAF, where we kicked off the solar program. And, we kicked off the Solarize campaigns, which have now spread up to Fairbanks. We did technology testing at our test site on the UAF campus. And I truly believe that, a lot of those demonstrations combined with lots of other, market and global forces have made a great canvas for people for solar technology to take off in the state. So demonstrations and deployments, and then of course, all the partnerships that need to come with all of those to make them happen. And that also includes community workforce and capacity development, because energy projects and technology developments don't exist in a vacuum. So that's always the big challenge for us. And we have some interesting developments coming along those lines. Another big priority of mine is to help organize and disseminate information about DOE funding opportunities for Alaskans. I don't know about you, but I see about 2, 3, 4 funding opportunity announcements a day, and I can barely keep them straight. And I can't imagine how overwhelmed other people must feel as well. So one of the things we've done recently, maybe some of you were even on this webinar, is we partnered with the Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations, which is another DOE funding office, for an Alaska tailored webinar on their funding opportunities. And it was great. We had wonderful attendance, and we're hoping to do the same with other funding offices within DOE. AEO itself, our Arctic Energy Office, is not a funding office per se. We're a convening office, and we're a cross-cutting office, making sure that Arctic interests are represented. So we can partner with other funding offices to help get the word out about opportunities that are relevant for Alaska. Another priority is to communicate the value of Arctic energy projects to national priorities. The stuff we do up here does matter. The lessons we learn from our projects are applicable to the rest of the nation. We just need to get the word out. And then finally, I really hope to act as a front door to the Department of Energy for stakeholders like yourselves. The Department of Energy is a many-headed monster. The org chart is really painful to look at, all the different offices and branches, and I'm still figuring it out from within the Department of Energy, but you shouldn't have to. So if you've got questions about DOE opportunities, funding, give us a call. Shoot us an email, and I have all of that contact information here at the end. We can help direct you to the right places, or in many cases, get you a quick answer. So this is our effort to be, more user-friendly and to simplify things for those who want to engage. So I'll leave it at that as we go to the next slide.
Maybe it's just me, ma'am, but
yep.
Would you also be able to assist with, frankly, helping applicants apply? One of the big rubs is, these applications can be highly complex.
Mm-hmm.
Just to get your foot in the door, let alone be, selected.
Yeah, well, we can't actually help write the application, but we can certainly, have discussions and help folks assess, the appropriateness of a call, and, connect you with partners, that, would be potentially good team members and all of that. So, we can lead the horse to water, but we can't make the horse drink.
Okay.
There's more we can talk about there as well. So I want to briefly touch on the 3 pillars of our office that I mentioned earlier. So energy, science, and security. And I just have a brief slide on each of them. This is a lot of information, but the point here is to communicate that we touch on and are aware of and have expertise in lots of different technologies that are relevant to Alaska. And, are involved to different degrees. So for example, I facilitate the hydrogen energy working group for the state, and there's actually a meeting later today. We're also part of the nuclear energy working group. We keep tabs on some of the DOE projects in the various different technology areas in the state. So, and we try to maintain familiarity with those opportunities and challenges and successes. Focus on science. This is a part of DOE that actually gets a ton of funding up here, but maybe not as much media attention. There's some big projects up here. There is atmospheric radiation monitoring on the North Slope. There's computer modeling. Another fun development, those of you in Fairbanks may know Erin Cook, who been at CCHRC. Now, I guess we call it the NREL North Campus or NREL Alaska. He's taking off to Iceland as the first Arctic Embassy Science Fellow here, and I think in another week or two to spend 2 weeks there, or 2 months in Iceland, learning about some of their energy systems and thinking about differences and similarities and lessons learned between, situations and energy solutions in Alaska relative to Iceland. So we're really excited about that. Erin's a terrific guy. We're excited to be supporting him there. So go local Fairbanks talent. We also focus on security. There is the ARENA program, the Arctic Remote Energy Networks Academy, that brings a cohort of students and professionals together from different countries. They just wrapped up one of their sessions this year. We coordinate with the U.S. Department of State. We coordinate with the White House. These are sort of more international in nature, and quite honestly, are Mike McElhaney's purview. The Arctic Council that just switched chairmanship from Russia to Norway. We're involved in those discussions. So at that high sort of national and international level, we keep tabs on what the United States sort of role and presence is with regard to security. And I'm not, unaware that security extends to just, political security. Security has many different facets. And so it's a big, squishy, complex topic. And these are some of our efforts in that realm.
Erin, who's the gentleman in that picture, last picture? Who's the gentleman on the far right?
That's Matt Hevner, our senior advisor for science.
I actually got to meet him. I went to, speaking of ACEP, I got to visit their offices in the engineering building, and he had an office in the office. Is he still up here?
No, he's based in Los Alamos, but the Arctic Energy Office, there is an Arctic Energy Office space up there near ASAP. So that's probably how you ran into him.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I did want to note that we have a local presence.
We do. We have a local presence. We interface with the national labs. The national lab is a huge science and research and technology development system in our country. And most of them fall under Department of Energy supervision. And because of that, the Arctic Energy Office interfaces with those national labs with respect to their projects and activities up in Alaska. And what this means for all of you is that there's an incredible national resource here in terms of technical expertise or technical assistance, or help with various types of projects or energy technologies. And that's not to say we don't have a lot of expertise up here, but where outside expertise is needed, the national labs can be a great resource. So I would encourage you to use our office as a conduit for potentially seeking help from the national labs. If you don't know where to turn, we can probe that network for you and find partners, and then they also have their own research agendas and initiatives up here as well.
I think Alaska can also help the national labs. You mentioned NREL. We know that NREL's housed in the CCHRC building. I had the opportunity to go to the Idaho National Lab with the Alaska delegation last fall. I noticed that though Idaho National Lab is known for nuclear, that it's also one of the main test sites for commercial batteries, because we got to see their facility for that and see their work. And it occurred to me that there's a difference between controlled condition testing and real world testing. And so it'd be great if there was a relationship where those batteries also came up here for real world cold weather testing.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you for bringing up that aspect of our relationship with the national labs as well. Moving on, this was news to me when I joined the Arctic Energy Office, but the Arctic Energy Office through Sandia National Lab is actually responsible for a small sliver of airspace up above Aliktok, which is the farthest north drivable location in the United States. There's various research facilities up there. There's airspace associated with that research. And again, the Arctic Energy Office contracts out to Sandia National Lab to manage that. But is an interesting aspect of the office nonetheless, and sort of underscores the diversity of issues which we have to keep tabs on. Some of our recent highlights I've listed here just to show you the types of activities we're involved in. I also have my next slide is things that are coming up so that you can engage with us. But as always, you can reach out to us via email or otherwise. It's been a busy couple months since I joined. We've had a lot of conferences and workshops. Just a few weeks ago, we had the Arctic Encounter Symposium in Anchorage. And my boss, the Undersecretary for Science and Innovation, Dr. Jerry Richmond, came up for that. She's the woman on the left there in the bright pink. I've gone to Juneau to give, a talk on some of our priorities and our office capabilities. And actually, it was my second testimony there in front of the Energy Committee that prompted this presentation today. So lots of different activities upcoming. Of interest perhaps to all of you is the Alaska Sustainable Energy Conference coming up at the end of May in Anchorage. I believe it's May 22nd through 25th. If you Google alaskasustainableenergy.com, you can get more information about that. It will be the energy event of the year in Alaska, and there will be people from all over the state as well as the nation coming together to talk about energy issues. We're involved in various other statewide events. I serve as an ex officio member on the Alaska Energy Security Task Force that the governor assembled. We had the first meeting just a week or so ago. We have another one coming up next week. And another program we're hoping to kick off here pretty soon is an energy ambassador program where we are working with what we are going to be calling ambassadors in different regions of the state to help generate and develop and refine energy projects and the teams necessary to get those off the ground to then interface with DOE. So we're still spinning up here. I mentioned Alaska-focused funding webinars. I hope we can announce more of those soon to help you all organize that information in your own minds for your own application purposes. And then finally, this is my contact information and the contact information for our office. Should you like to get in touch with us? I do have a little announcement there. We are going to be recruiting for a strategic engagement specialist. If you'd like more information about that, please contact me individually. But these are ways to get involved with us. We are on LinkedIn, we are in Twitter, we even have a quarterly newsletter. So the website has lots of information and I encourage you to check it out. So with that, I'd be happy to take questions in the remaining 5 minutes or so that we've got.
Yeah, well done, Doc. 4.5 minutes to spare. All right, well, I would open up the floor to questions. I will actually, I'll prime the pump. Long duration energy storage. We just had a presentation on long duration energy storage. And I believe there's some partnerships budding between a vendor and our own local electric cooperative. Is that the kind of stuff that the Arctic Energy Office supports?
We try to provide whatever information or resources that would help those processes. Support is a loaded word. We try to support all types of sustainable energy transition enabling efforts and technologies around the state. Like I said, we can't help people apply for funding, but I love connecting people and helping people identify appropriate funding opportunities. And making sure that folks are aware that there are historical levels of funding out there for their ideas and their projects. Does that answer your question?
Yes, and open to and happy to partner on a research basis. If I'm allowed to do so. Again, I'm just thinking the Arctic Energy Office. I would think you guys are always happy to tap in to help get some good data.
Yep, always, yes, because that helps us provide information to the whole state. So,
well, I see Mike Music has graced us with his face. Mike, you have a question?
Yes, Erin, thanks for your presentation. Is the Inflation Reduction Act dollars making it to Alaska at this point?
Yes, and it's really just starting to roll out, between formula funding as well as funding opportunities. And I'm just speaking for the Department of Energy at this point. I have not kept my finger on the pulse of the other federal agencies that are giving out money. It is starting to roll out, and it's taken a little while for everyone to get organized in DC. Do you have a particular area of concern that you'd like more information about?
Well, I'm just aware that Golden Valley is in need of a lot of money to upgrade their infrastructure. Mm-hmm. And acquire more renewable energy. And I hope we don't miss that opportunity.
Yes. If there are specific projects you're interested in, and I don't know what your affiliation is with Golden Valley, be happy to talk with you more offline there. I know all of the railbelt utilities are fully aware of the funding opportunities at the moment, and a number of them are submitting applications.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Carl.
Can you help me in seeing the relationship on your third pillar of security to climate?
Well, we have rapid changes in our climate right now in the Arctic, more rapid than the rest of the nation and much of the rest of the world. And responding to that changing climate up here is a way that we can ensure our national, regional, and international security. So, for example, some of the changes we see up here with sea ice changes and permafrost thaw and other changes are destabilizing, some of the systems and infrastructure that we've had in place, and making sure that we respond to those changes in a way that keeps our infrastructure stable. So, that could be community facilities, and keeps our communities secure, not to use that word again, but making sure that our communities are robust and doing well is good, not just for their own security, but it's good for our own national security. So for example, if military operations need to move to dispersed locations, they need healthy communities that they can go in and out of or use as bases of operation. And that's just one example. And making sure that we have stable infrastructure that can handle, increasing shipping traffic as our sea ice extent declines, is also really important to our economic security and our political security, thinking about transport and transfer of goods across the Arctic. Does that help? I mean, it's a loaded question, and it's a really big answer, and I'm trying to give a few slivers of what those connections might be.
Some of them I agree with in regards to the political and the national security of the nation. But, in regards to the climate change to the villages, I think that's under a different one. That would be under science, I would call it, but I wouldn't throw climate in there under security, but definitely the state, the nation, the ocean, I concur with that. So thanks.
Great.
Dr. Whitney?
Yes.
I see that we have just passed the bottom of the hour, but I also see that Mr. Ray Latcham has brought himself off of dark. Could we try one?
Yep, let's do one more question. Happy to.
Ray.
Thanks, Erin, for the presentation. I appreciate it. Can you hear me? Give me a wave, Jomo.
Yep, you're on.
Yep.
Okay, thanks. So the question is, lots of solar, lots of wind, lots of batteries, things like that, some geothermal out there, and it's great science fair stuff. What about natural gas? Have you guys done anything with gas along the roadways and things like that we can transport?
Or conventional
Arctic-
generally?
What's that?
Or conventional generally?
Yeah. Well, what's really interesting is we are the Department of Energy, not the Department of Renewable Energy. Although there is an emphasis from our administration on subscribing to the clean energy transition, but we also have a fossil energy and carbon management office that is intimately involved with thinking about fossil fuel energy sources and combining them with carbon capture or carbon storage. In a way to make sure we continue utilizing the sources, but do it in a responsible fashion. So we do have discussions about using natural gas, continuing to use natural gas because we have lots of it up here, but then also combining it with new technologies to store emissions from that natural gas such that we aren't adding more carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases to the atmosphere. But I'm well aware that we do have to consider the entire portfolio of energy sources.
Or as I like to say,
that's great.
with
And
less
just
negative effluence.
Just to add to that a little bit, there are a lot of places that you can still use gas as a cleaner fuel than oil, right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, the Ted Stevens Center there at Coldfoot, that's on diesel generation.
Mm-hmm.
We have a company, we can put natural gas into that location now.
Right, and UAF has, the most recently built coal plant, in the country. I mean, because it's there and it's cheap and it makes a lot of sense. So we have to think about what the regional resources are and what the regional needs are, and it's different for every area.
All right. Well, everybody, Doc, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. When I saw your presentation at the legislature, I was like, oh, I want to know what you all are doing. So everyone, thank you so much. So yeah, that brings us to an end of our time having Dr. Whitney. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
And hey, Erin, it's Tanya Klukas, formerly of EPSCOR. We're so excited you got the job. Yay. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
All right. So everybody, again, well, we do have another minute. I'll simply note, for the good of the order, there's a bunch of energy stuff being discussed before the legislature. If you've not done so before, please know that our state government or governments may not be great at a lot of things, but they certainly, I think, have done a really good job and progressively better job over the years of making their discussions accessible to the public. So if you simply Google Alaska legislature, their homepage can give you easy navigation to help find out what committees are happening, what's under discussion of those committees per day. Actually, an easy link to watch the discussions live upon their timing. Also, ways to search bills, not only by actual bill number, which can get a little confusing over time, but by subject. So again, just lots of great information, but just know there's a lot going on in the legislature relative to energy. Well, all right, everybody. That actually brings us to the end of the discussion for today. Please know I have lined up another speaker for next week. It's going to be Miss Dominique Pride. She's working off of the university, and she has an interesting research project that is happening for which I wanted to give her venue so we could see if we could actually get her some volunteers. They're doing lots of research on energy, but specifically energy usage, and they're about to do an residential energy usage survey for which they will need volunteers. So just know that that is on the docket for tomorrow, or next Tuesday. Plus there's other things that they've been up to. And so I hope that you'll give us some more information on all of their work. All right, everybody, that's it for today. Hope you've had a good start to yours. It's gorgeous out, so I hope everybody gets to get a little sunshine on their face. Yeah, beyond that, try to keep your feet wet, and we will see you next Tuesday.
All right. Thanks, Jomo.